People get too antsy in their pantsy wanting to make it quick. It doesn't get to be quick. Not when it's been 4 years of it. The guy who's helping me out now, he's had his own fair share of death. There are 3 deaths I take responsibility for. One of them is the death of Christopher Weaver Jr. I knew that I was too nasty to be in that hospital. I knew that Lexi Delgado, who called herself Cardboard, was too crazy not to try putting that baby in my hands. I should have thought it out before walking in the room. I slept behind a dumpster at the time. A dumpster that people pissed and shat behind. But yeah, Lexi Delgado shouldn't have ever handed that baby to me. But I shouldn't have been close enough for her to force that baby at me. I mean, what do? I couldn't just let the baby hit the floor. Brand new baby boy. 2 days later, he died in a tent in the mountains of an infection because the umbilical cord touching my hoodie. The second death I take responsibility for is the death of Alexis Valentine. When I say Alexis Valentine, I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about her a lot. It's a friend of mine's sister. I didn't know her last name until after she was dead, and it was only because I read it. Valentin, no E. I gave up my seat. I gave up my seat in an SUV driven by a guy who called himself James. Kelly James Wiggins. Apparently, she was beaten near to death before she was even put in the vehicle and they staged an accident. I was sitting in the seat that Alexis took in that SUV the night she died. The third death, of course, is Natalie Bollinger. If I'd have been able to get people to listen instead of blowing me off, but I couldn't get anyone to listen. They were busy giving me advice and telling me how to think and how to feel, and pretending like a sandwich fixes it. It doesn't. I went to the police repeatedly for help. They just kept treating me like I was crazy or telling me I needed to man up. See, it's different when you're a boy. When you're a boy who goes in. When you're a boy who needs help. There's a recording that I just made. I'm trying to show a guy here what it is that I'm going through. He needs to not ask questions and just listen to the story. Stop trying to break it apart and ask where everything's at. You'll see it. You'll see all of it once you start going through the evidence. But you need to know what the fuck to look for. And if you don't shut up, you're not going to know. I can't say shut up. I need you to be quiet. I need you to listen. I need you to listen. I try to explain. Every time they interrupt me, I got to stop and say, hey, you'll get to see all of that. Yes, I have evidence of it. And I'm going to show you the evidence of it. But if something happens to me, I need you to know what the story is so that you can go through the evidence and find those. You won't be able to find those parts if you don't even know what the hell to look for. And you won't know what to look for if you're not listening to the story. Through all of this, the thing that has scared me the most is the loss of evidence. Because I can prove this. But the more time goes on, the more evidence is lost. The more screwed I am every time that they take me to jail before somebody shuts up and stops asking 10 million questions. Just shut up and listen. I will tell you the story, and I get that you believe me. You tell me you believe me over and over and over again. Stop telling me that you believe me and let me finish what the hell I'm saying. And all of these people have the same issue. They don't like it when I interrupt them. Meanwhile, they don't have any problems interrupting me. Let me finish. You will get the evidence. I mean, for him, if he'd have gone through these thousands of videos that are on YouTube, he got to see all of it. But he's got his own life. And that's important to note that issues that we're having, they were created by the police. Any of the stresses that we're all having to deal with, and I understand this isn't just stressful for me, it's stressful for these other people because they have to take time away from their lives because I don't have a family that cares. I don't have a family that can listen. Complete strangers have heard me where none of my friends. Complete strangers have seen more evidence than any of my friends have because they didn't keep up. Whereas all of these wingnut web sleuths that want to see me hang, shit, they keep up with everything, don't they? Let's call up Star, see how she is doing. Um, anyway, the last call that I made was with pretrial services of Larimer County. I'm trying to jump through all of their hoops. The problem is I shouldn't have had to do any of these things. I should have had help. They took advantage of my disabilities every step of the way. And when it would help them, my disabilities existed. And when it wasn't going to help them, my disabilities didn't exist somehow magically. Rectus a key means I will follow up rightly. That's the Schwartz family motto, by the way. My computer's overheating. I've been jumping through hoops, trying to make people happy so that what they want, because they're not going to help me unless they get what they want. But even after they get what they want, they still don't help me how I need. It's not that I can't tell these people what I need. It's not that I can't show them. It's that they don't have the time or they don't make the time. They tell me about how it's a drain on their resources for them to help me. But it's a drain on my resources to go there for that help that they don't provide. They want me to spend my time jumping through the hoops to get what they want, but they're not helping me how I need. I need them to help me go through all of this evidence. First, they got to be quiet and listen, and then we can separate it, and they can pull out these different parts and help me. But there is that much of it. Schindler's List. I didn't know there was a violinist in Schindler's List. Oh, it's performed in Budapest. Por favor, deje su mensaje para Hey, Storage Sean. I was live recording. I figured I'd call you up and see if you could answer some questions and possibly go through some stuff with me. But I guess you're busy. Or anyway, be safe. Thank you. Bye. Anyway, the last video that I recorded, I believe, posted up on YouTube. I don't know. I would like to be able to explain everything, but like with the time crunch and whatnot. When I post up the video that I just recorded before this one, because it wasn't live, and it takes about 2 hours for it to download. I don't know why, but when that's done, you'll have a little bit better understanding of how stressful it is. I mean, I'm not allowed to be stressed, but other people are. I'm having to live in their spaces and try not to be rude and inconsiderate because I never know what someone's going to snap at. I never know what someone's going to take personal. Right now, I'm exhausted. I'm going to sleep. But I got to get this stuff done. I got to find a way to get something here to help me how I need. And I got to try to find a way to get this done during normal business hours. And that's the biggest issue with almost everywhere that I went. We can't work on this during normal business hours because of things that are not Sean Schwartz's fault. But guess what? If we don't get it done during normal business hours, how am I supposed to call these places? How am I supposed to get a hold of these places and do these things if Shannon Alvarado's, I got to spend 6 weeks not being able to call any of these places because of her paranoia of getting her kid took if anybody hears her screaming. Oh, man, Shannon. So now not only can I not work on it myself in addition to not getting help from you, but now I'm being hobbled entirely and it's helping my predators. Shannon Alvarado, the whole time I was there, that just never occurred to her. Oh, now the way people have treated me since, it's not right. I got plenty of evidence. Another thing is, when a guy is molested, people laugh at him. In the last couple of days, there's this guy who was molested at a party, and he was telling people, doesn't matter who he told, man, woman, most of the people just laughed at him like it was a joke, like he was telling a fucking joke. He wasn't telling a joke. It didn't have a punchline. Being a man is terrible. Everybody blames you for everything. Everything must be your fault because you have a penis. Not cool. So now my dreads is fucking with me, and I got Jim's coconut donut stuck in my gums. On the bright side, it's a good coconut donut. Pretty much anything's better than jail food. Let's see.
The TextNow subscriber you are trying to reach is not available. Please leave your message after the tone.
Hey, CRH, Sean. I believe you have my number. I figured I'd call and try to let you know how I'm doing and see how you're doing. I'm glad you're out. I hope you're safe. Bye. It says text mail, so maybe I should text, right? I feel bad for all these people. God, I had a lot of these yesterday. Such pleasant folks. I got a lot of evidence I need to go through. I sent a bunch of stuff to Star as well. Uh, I got so much on here. Here's just before Joseph Lopez court. Play this one.
All right, I'm here at the Adams County Justice Center. This is where detectives John Rogers and Detective Peterson get to hide out. See, these bastards, or useless son of a bitches, whatever you want to call them, they got to hide out here because where they started their bullshit was in a different county. So they get to hide behind jurisdiction. Meanwhile, harassing me across jurisdictional lines. As a result, I'm here for the Joseph Michael Lopez trial. Today is his arraignment. Let's hope these son of a bitches go down. Not just Lopez, but also these filthy fucking pigs. Merry Christmas, motherfuckers.
All right. Well, yeah. cancel. We will go back. Let's see. This is just before court. I'm inside the building for this one.
I'm outside courtroom 501. This is where the guy who killed Natalie is having his arraignment. Of course, I'm not just here for Mr. Lopez. I'm also here to press charges against the Broomfield Police Department, as well as the Adams County Police Department, and probably the Adams County Sheriff's Department. These guys obstructed justice, and they lied outright. They protected the predators and harassed me over them. These police officers were immoral and wrong, and what they did led to statewide harassment and assault by police officers against me. So, here, this is where we're at. Yep.
Let me back that up just a tiny bit. I guess that didn't work, did it? And this is after court because they don't let you record during court.
Well, court was fun. Turns out, there still is not a police officer in the state of Colorado willing to take my report. Matter of fact, I was slandered in the courtroom. And the man who was slandering me,
Ted Bollinger came into the courtroom calling me a child molester, trying to accuse me of doing things to his little girl. She was just a little girl. Ted Bollinger, you raped that little girl. Me and her weren't even friends until she was an adult. You stuck your penis in your own daughter's. Don't give me your BS.
hell, you didn't even seem to notice that Mr. Lopez was in the courtroom.
Just after the arraignment,
I am standing outside of the Adams County Justice Center, where yet again the police refused to take my report. Matter of fact, they heard me screamed at and threatened and slandered in the courtroom, still refused to take a report. And then they escorted me outside. This is an obstruction of justice. Merry Christmas.
I was the one getting yelled at. I waited until all the volunteers were gone before attempting to get up, go downstairs, and file the stuff that I needed to file. But instead, the cops there were hostile towards me. Not okay. This is Brett Roloff. This was in Virginia in 2018 or 2019. Bristol, Virginia. Sorry about that. fast forward a little bit.
Well, I just found it. I literally spent like 4 hours this morning trying to locate it.
Alright, I guess I better go back to the beginning now.
I said, okay. So I gotta call this Facebook number here. Yeah. Well, I just found it. I literally spent like 4 hours this morning trying to locate it. I don't know. I was hoping today was Saturday. Alright, well.
Look, that one right there. No, yeah, that one right there. Found that the screen was all the way to the top yesterday. I was like, son of a bitch. Then Brett goes try to put flea medicine in one of the bigger cat's eyes. I mean, on the cat.
By the way, they're on
in
the
his eyes. He flipped shit.
in video here. It's actually
Flipping out, and I was like, you need to go.
you can see the meth and the drugs on the
I
table.
felt so bad. I was like, there was nothing wrong with her. If you showed up for 2 seconds and let me look at her, I took a flashlight and went like this.
You mean with the screaming and then screaming some more? And then screaming some more?
Sure. I still remember. And all I did was, the cat was sitting there and took my flashlight. She wasn't even blinking hard. Her eyes were watering. Her eating turkey. She ate it. She was just scared because he was chasing her, you know?
Screaming for like, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and he's screaming for 2 hours straight. Both of us are looking stuff up. It takes time to read. He's wanting an instant friggin' fix. Like, no, dude, I'm reading it.
I'm just like,
Like that number I gave you, that was like the second number that came up. But
yeah. And he's looking at it, I need your help. He's like, go do this. He's like, do that. And I was like, how do you want me to do it?
the other thing is you were doing it and you were still getting screamed at.
And I was telling him, I was like, do this, use that, get her, use his glove, use this. I was telling him exactly what to do. I just want to do that, that's all. But he's like, no cat. Exactly. I think what happened was she got a big snort of it, and so it burned her nose. It probably burned her eyes too because it was peppermint. And then she's like, meow, and he just fell off. Like, how do you have kids? I mean, I know that Christopher Crowe, but you were around when he was growing up. What did you do when he fall? Did you just fall apart?
My mom had 4 kids, but she didn't raise any of us. She kind of raised my little sister.
I suppose I should be holding it up because what I'm trying to show is like she's literally hitting the meth pipe.
I was so fucking bad.
She's lighting it up right there. I mean, that was my visit to Bristol, Virginia to get help from Brett Roloff. I mean, just so damn much. During that period of time when I went to Joseph Michael Lopez arraignment, that was also, I was supposed to have a meeting with Jen Beebe, but I had to get court paperwork taken care of. I had to get something legally started against these guys for what they've been doing to me. It was during that period of time that also me and Shannon Alvarado caught Kara Johnson Miles lying. Kara Johnson Miles was supposed to be an autism advocate who was a friend of Miss Shelley's who was going to help me. You'll get to see what she said in my court paperwork too. That woman was lying through her teeth, and so was Shelly, and so was Danica. I literally had to do some crazy ass shit to try to force the cops to take a look. Nobody should have to break the law to try to force the cops to take a look. When you're dealing with cops who just assume, then you have to have somebody who goes in with you, especially when they can pull bullshit like the mentally ill tag. And then it's your word versus theirs, and you automatically lose. Here's a good video. Exactly stopped. And we'll press play.
That's the thing. So those officers had something different to say than what that woman had to say. Now, if Amanda Balehash lied to me, then she doesn't deserve to be a judge. If those officers are the ones who lied, then they don't deserve to be officers. At the same time, I was not represented. At no point in time was I represented. At no point in time was my safety ever.
Hey, Star.
Hey, Sean.
I'm on the air.
What happened?
I said I'm on the air. I'm live streaming.
Oh,
Did you get to see
you
any of those
wanna talk
videos?
or
Do what?
what happened?
I said I'm
You wanna
live.
talk right now, or?
You go first.
Okay. Sorry. I was just asking if you want to talk right now, or
Yeah.
about something, or okay.
Yes, ma'am. I figure the best time to talk to you. See, I'm trying to show that I'm trying to get help. I'm not trying to hide anything.
Yeah.
Were you able to watch any of those videos?
I did. No, actually, no. I only repeated the ones that I already watched. I know the ones with the where they have that weird bag on your head and how they were just dragging you around.
Well, there's between all those and some of the other stuff that I just showed on this video I'm streaming. I was just going through some of the places that I was and the people that I had to deal with. Like that whole situation with Scott DaCosta, at least with you, I've got a witness. With a lot of these other things, I've got witnesses too. They're just all scared.
Yeah.
And as far as looking at evidence, like at least I've got the evidence to show. The problem is I need somebody to listen to my story, and once I'm done explaining my story, then people will know what evidence to look for in the screenshots.
Yeah.
Also, because they're from Facebook, most of them are time and date stamped, so it's easy to show when they happened and show where other events were happening. Like when Kara Johnson Miles and Rochelle Shelley Campbell stopped pretending like they were being friendly is when they got busted lying and pulling some pretty manipulative shit.
Yeah.
And that was during and right after Joseph Michael Lopez arraignment. And that's really at the point where everything really severely went as far south as it possibly could, because at that point they just became enemies and that was it. And I was trying to show the truth. They just didn't care at any point and still don't. But also, while that was going on, that was also at the period of time that the Dual County Sheriff's Department had me committed to the hospital in Scotts Bluff to try to have me pegged as mentally ill so they could justify the fact they didn't do their job. Oh God, I got restricted call number 4 calling me. Restricted 5. Damn, Star, they are bombing me out tonight. They want to pretend that the threats, harassment, and assaults don't exist, and like this stuff isn't happening in real life. And with you, I mean, you being there and present, you get to see how I'm treated, how the mentally ill treatment is different than when you go in and, you know, it's not the same, is it?
No. And, you know, even when we were over there, you know, when you would speak on your own, you know, they would still, you know, kind of teach you the same. Maybe not completely because there were still people around, but there'd be times where, you know, we would probably have to say something basically to back you up, or else they didn't want to listen.
And even then, they cut you guys off.
Yeah.
Out of jurisdiction,
Yeah.
wrong jurisdiction. What? How the fuck do you think I got here? You think I hatched an egg in your fucking emergency room?
Exactly, and you know, it's, you know, they were really talking about like, oh, you guys drove a long way to help, and it's like, you know, and you try to make it sound like they're being friendly about it, like, oh, that's real nice, but you know, they looking back at it, they were saying it as a joke. It's like, wow, you had to get these two random people over there to get you help. It's still not gonna work. That's what it looked like they were trying to do now that I'm remembering.
Well, that's the thing, is that I didn't want to say things like that because I get treated like I'm paranoid or I'm making stuff up in those cases. And coming from you, it means something different. Coming from our traveling partner, I mean, that makes a difference too, you know?
Yeah.
Trying to get you here is, well, we'll see what ends up happening. I should have the money to be able to send you on the 4th. See, that's where all my money's going, is to trying to get help here in person to help me. But see, when you came down in person to help me, we got cut off, didn't we? And it wasn't even through honest means. Like, did we or did we not hear from them that there's no warrants in Colorado and that we could go there safely?
Yeah.
Well, the paperwork that I got says different. The paperwork that I got shows that the Dual County Sheriff's Department and the things that he was doing and what the Nebraska State Patrol had to say were not the same things.
Yeah.
They just want to be able to harm me without allowing me to go to court, and that's what'll end up happening. They're not going to allow me to show any of this evidence. That's why I need you here in person. I can explain it to you, and then you'll know what evidence to look for.
Yeah.
But go ahead, you were going to say something?
Oh, no, I was just, well, you know, in Nebraska, I didn't really see the police around there, but, you know, when you were talking about how brutal the cops in Colorado are, it's like, it really was, you know, because of my, what you call him, my road person, my road buddy, you know, just because he was able to keep everything under control, you know, the cops played cool, but you could really see he was trying to rile us up. He was talking about how he was bringing 6 cops or whatever, you know, over something real small. Like, he was just like, oh, we don't play, you know. He was, right from the start, he was already trying to scare us. Well, because we had nothing to hide from the first place, it didn't work, but
he was still a dick. You know, but at least he talked nice while he was being a dick. I said he was being a dick, but at least he talked nice while he was being a dick. I got 13 restricted numbers have called in the 7 minutes since we started this. 14 now. 15 now. Oh, there's number 16. They're people to harass me. That's what they do. When they see that I'm on, they call nonstop. People think that this harassment's just on the internet and that if I get off the internet, it'll disappear. Like, no, it's not just harassment on the internet. I mean, every aspect of my life has been destroyed. My ability to take care of myself, my financial situation, my housing situation. They want to blame all that on me. I'm like, hey, I'm not the one that put myself in this situation. The police and the Bollingers put me in this situation.
Keep you that way, and everybody who tries to help.
Yeah, my sister is scared shitless to help. Riley is scared shitless to help. And they were going to have a discussion about it because I told them I really need them to. But that's the thing, is that I already knew that Tara was scared of her housing situation. And I didn't know that it had degraded since then. I mean, my little sister, she would gladly stand up in court and say, yeah, my brother is not schizophrenic. You need to knock this shit off. But then she's got to worry about my niece. And you got to meet her too, you know?
Yeah.
Is my niece not sweet as shit?
She is. It's pretty awesome. She was really funny when we were there too, you know?
Absolutely. She takes after me. Out of all of her uncles, I'm the only one she really knows.
Yeah, it looks like she really loved you too, you know? She ran you, hugged you, and then when you had to go, she was sad about it. And yeah, she was real sweet. She's adorable.
I wish I could have spent more time with her, but I needed to get some information from her dad. And thank you for talking to him anyway, because that's something where, like, that does mean a lot to me that you were there to talk to him with me as well, because then you're a witness to that situation. But you know, they shouldn't have to be in that situation either. My little sister isn't a bad woman, not even close. She's got problems, so does her husband, ex-husband. You know, we all got problems, but that doesn't make us bad people.
No, it doesn't. You know, everybody to an extent has, you know, a degree of problem.
But their fears are legit, aren't they? Do you personally feel that my little sister and her husband's fears are legitimate?
I do, especially because they have a kid. And, you know, the way, well, I don't want to, like, talk any personal stuff, but, you know, the way they were talking and, you know, just the kind of struggles that they were talking about as well, you know, it's real serious. It's not anything to joke about, or, you know, it's not something that gets to be just because, oh, that happens to everyone. Like, no, they have legitimate problems.
Yeah.
That they didn't create for themselves. It's just stuff that people go through, you know?
Yes, ma'am. Most of the people that are mad at me are going through similar stuff. The difference between them and the stuff with my sister is that I didn't post the stuff with my sister all over the internet because I didn't have to. She didn't force me to do anything of that nature to protect myself and my loved ones. With Laura Nelson, she could have come forward at any point in time. The reason that her stuff ended up on the internet and other people is because they did horrible things to me because I wasn't capable of doing what they wanted. And they wanted to punish me for it, and they got away with punishing me for it. Many of these people had been my predators in the past. Laura Nelson wasn't. She was always good to me. I mean, she helped me to plan the trip to Virginia. After it, we found out that Natalie had tried to kill herself, and she tried to help me earn the money to get up there. And the car that I got, the one that broke down in the road up there, I got that from Laura Nelson and David Nelson. They own Nettie's Treasures. That one that I showed you, the video with Jordan Anderson, that's at Nettie's Treasures. That's Laura Nelson's store in Chapel, Nebraska. That guy who's in the video, his name is Graham, and yeah, he's Tabby's boyfriend now. He wasn't dating Tabby at the time. At the time, he was Tabby's boyfriend's best friend, but that's not anybody's business, I guess. But the whole dynamics of it is that it does screw me over because Graham didn't do me right. Tabby did not do me right. And Joshua Eichelberger, that's the abusive ex, he definitely didn't do anybody in that household right.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you a lot of that situation too, because like I said, there's thousands of videos recordings with the actual witnesses.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, actually, I didn't see any of the video. I remember you were skimming through and there was logos that was, you know, the video stuff, recording and all that.
I recorded a shit ton, didn't I?
Huh?
I recorded a shit ton, didn't I?
Yeah, even while we were there, you know, I remember the recordings we had to make, you know, when we were making the phone calls, when we were going to the places, you know, like the police station and all that kind of stuff, the hospital, and, you know, everywhere that it was necessary to record. And that was a lot, just to that, you know, week. And weekend.
It
So
wasn't even a week. It was only 2 days for me. From when you got there
yeah,
to,
that's true.
yeah, that was a lot of recordings for 2 days. That was a lot of driving for
Yeah.
2 days. I mean, it
That
was
too.
Scotts Bluff, and we also had to go to Gearing. That's the town right next to Scotts Bluff. And we had to go to Sydney, and we had to go to Chapel, and then we had to go back to Sydney, and then back to Chapel, and then back to Sydney, and then like, you know, and when you guys were saying, you know, we should just get the hell out of Nebraska and try to get you somewhere safe for right now. I was trying to tell you Colorado wasn't any safer, but you know, what did that officer tell us from the Nebraska State Patrol?
What did he say? I don't remember.
No, the lady one.
The one that said that you didn't have any warrants but lied.
Yep. And did she say that it was all right for me to leave the state to somewhere safe, and that they just wanted me to get the help I needed?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They were saying that they've been trying to get you some help and that they just didn't know what to do. And then she said that you were perfectly safe going to Colorado. There was nothing to worry about because you had no warrants. And, you know, she reassured me multiple times because it wasn't just one time.
And that's why I need you in court. I mean, this is stuff they've been doing for a few years. This is 4 years worth of this.
Yeah.
Imagine going through 4 years worth of that while everybody who assaults you gets away with it because the cops aren't going to listen. They keep separating me from my money. They keep separating me from my health. That's what they do. That's what they've been doing this whole time. And it's not like I chose for them to do that. It's not like I chose for them to lie to me. But, yeah, right. Do what?
Sorry, I was trying to write something down. What do you think?
Right before you called, I was actually showing the situation with Joseph Michael Lopez arraignment and what happened there with Natalie's ex-stepmothers and with the lady who was pretending like she was an autism advocate who was going to help me. And I was showing the recordings of what my intentions were. When I got to that courthouse, I stated my intentions before I went into the courthouse. I stated my intentions when I got there. I showed that I was there at that court date. I showed that afterwards they prevented me from being able to do what it is that I had gone there to do. Like, they cut me off literally every step of the way from doing exactly what it is that I was told that I needed to do. They said, hey, if you got a problem with those officers, you need to go down there and you need to file this, you need to file that, you need to go to this place, you need to go to that place. And I was like, you know what? I can kill two birds with one stone because I can go to Joseph Michael Lopez arraignment. I can also file the paperwork that I need to against the police officers in Natalie's case. And then I can start pursuing the Bollingers for the things that they were doing. Turns out they were all up to some real shady shit, and I haven't gotten to show you most of that. There's a lot of it that's already on my YouTube and on my Facebook. I'm going to invite you to a website. Let me see if I can. God, my foot just went to sleep. Oh my God. Oh my freaking God. Oh my God. And my foot's asleep. Anyway, I'm sorry, I was just in a bit of pain. What was it that I was going to look up?
You mentioned the website.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of people who were telling me they were going to help, and they made websites. And one of them is The Real Justice for Natalie Bollinger. I'm going to invite you to that one right now. There's a lot of evidence in there. It says add an affiliation to your cover photo. Okay. Oh, I put my PayPal information up there, so if people wanted to send me some money, they could, but they haven't I think somebody sent me $20 a while back, which is pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna invite. Um, I haven't allowed people into this group for a while because people were trying to destroy evidence of the things that were going on. See, the thing is, these guys are trying to pretend that this is only happening on the internet, and that is not the truth. This is also happening in real life, but they won't listen to me. Let's see. Now, there's other Natalie Bollinger groups too. Oh,
What happened?
oh, I just sent you the invite.
Okay. Um, uh,
Looks like
what
I
is it
have
on?
looks like I have $0 in my thingy. Let's see, copy.
I'll see the invite.
No, it's to a group called the Real Justice for Natalie Bollinger Group, No Drama. I'll try it again.
Okay. Where are you sending it through?
Facebook.
Oh. Okay. I'm gonna go to the app itself because I can't. I don't see it. Hold on.
Well, maybe it'll take a minute. I don't know. My computer's kind of freezing up a little bit too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it hasn't showed up yet.
I suppose I should probably put that in the live stream here. Put it over in messages on the side. If you could share that too, that's so people can send something, even if it's hardly anything at all. It's better than nothing. I mean, right now I gave the dude I'm staying with my $50 card for food and stuff since I'm eating his food. So
Yeah.
Other than that, I got $2 in my pocket to live on for until the 4th, and then that's when the stimulus money comes in, and after that, I won't have any more to live on. That's the thing, is that I tried to do the right thing every step of the way. I needed people there in person, and every time people were there in person, I was cut off. And then they're frustrated, and I'm frustrated, but I'm not allowed to be frustrated, or they'll throw me away and run away. It's straight up evil. So could you give your impression of any of the other situations that happened, and like talk about who else you tried to contact or wrote to or anything of that nature? Because it obviously it took a lot of coordination to try to make that happen, and it took a lot of money, you know.
Yeah. Company. Hard to hear. All right, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you could share any information or any thoughts or feelings that you had on the situation, that would be useful. Maybe how
Yeah,
much you took to coordinate or how much it was costing and things like that.
yeah.
Any
No,
roadblocks
it
that
was,
we had.
yeah. Well, the cost was very high price, you know. And you can already imagine how much it costs to fill up with gas, you know. I think for a car, you know, having to do that from, you know, one side of the country to the other side, you know, that's a lot already right there. And then there's also the time that it took, you know, and just the driving around back and forth, like you said, like even just in Nebraska. And, you know, also the cost of somewhere to stay and all that, you know. Like I said last time, you know, we didn't even really stay anywhere. Sometimes we would just sleep in the car. And, I mean, it's still somewhere, but, you know, doing that for days and days, I mean, it does tire you out. And then, you know, it was also difficult, you know, trying to get anything done because most of the time that we were somewhere, it was in the car, you know? So that was already hard as well. And also the way we didn't really get any real people trying to actually help, you know? Even with us there, it was hard to be able to listen, be able to actually do something, you know? And when something was done, it was little things that shouldn't have been difficult to do in the first place. You know, like the prescription and your paperwork, like all of that should have been something simple, but you know, it became complicated. And then when we tried making the police reports, that was almost impossible, even with us there.
Yeah. Do you think they'd maybe paid a little bit better attention if we had a couple of hundred marchers from BLM outside the building?
It really would have. If we had the amount of people that support BLM, you know, we probably would have gotten things done way faster.
Or if I
A
had
lot of
family
protesting
support?
would really help.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. People, everybody throughout all this, there were hundreds and hundreds of people who offered to help and said they would help. When it all came down to it, they just couldn't. They couldn't keep their words. Their lives were too frustrating. They had too many personal problems, and also they didn't want to admit that they had personal problems in court. You know, I'm like, hey, you promised to help. I spent 7 months of my life believing that you're going to help, and then after 7 months, you're like, oh well, fuck you. You're not a human being to me, basically. Like, yeah, that's gonna hurt me. That's gonna hurt me to the core because I wasted 7 months of my time and 7 months worth of my finances and 7 months worth of hope and faith that were all ill placed. But I mean, who did I have to trust? You know, obviously, I'm not talking about you in specific,
Yeah.
but who was I going to
No, but
trust?
huh?
But who was I going to trust with people not coming through? Like with you, you did come through. It took a little bit while longer than expected, but like for me, it took me like 2.5 months past when I was supposed to leave to go see Natalie, according to what Natalie wanted. So for that, that made
Yeah.
me feel terrible. With you, you were only like a couple of days past when you said you were going to be here. And at first, I was trying to figure it out because you were saying that you were going to be there on Sunday. And I was like, are you sure? It sounds like you're going to leave on a Sunday. If you leave on Sunday, you're not going to make it here on that Sunday. But you also thought at the time, because your MapQuest said it was only a 14-hour drive. How many hours did it end up being?
It was way longer than 14. I'm pretty sure it was like 22 or something like that.
Yep, it was like almost 24 hours, like 23 hours and 53 minutes or something for me to drive from
Yeah,
Chapel, Nebraska to Chesapeake, Virginia. And Georgia's below Virginia.
yeah, and you know, like, and that was just if we were to have driven nonstop, you know. But then more time was added, and we had to stop for gas, or we would have to switch drivers, you know. So that also slowed us down, and you know, just going to the bathroom and filling up a tank of gas adds like 10 to 20 minutes, depending on like what time you're driving. Because then you know, there's also the traffic and all that. And, sometimes we'd have slowdowns and setbacks. And, in the highway, there's many people who have accidents, people who got stopped, and all that causes a lot of slowdown. So even when I would say, oh, I should be there in about 4 hours, it would take even longer with whatever thing that would go on, on the highway.
How many different jurisdictions? Sorry, go ahead.
It was like, pretty sure it was about 4 or 5 or something like that. Yeah, it just, just jumping around from one place to another, and you would try to talk. And that's the thing, like State Patrol should have been able to handle all these different jurisdictions because they're State Patrol, right? But even they were talking about how, we don't do that. You're going to have to talk to a specific county or a specific station, and then, then they'd send us back to State Patrol, and it would just be passing us back and forth. Nothing actually got done. And no matter what we said, no matter how serious the problems were, it didn't matter to them.
Exactly. Like, people are dead. And am I wrong? Are those people actually dead?
No, there's a lot of dead people, and the numbers are only going to get bigger.
Yes, ma'am.
Because they don't even care. And once the person is dead, it's like, oh well, it's too late now because they're dead. We're still not going to do anything about it. And that's the sad part too. A lot of times people tell you, oh well, just go to the police. So the police is the problem.
Yeah, and I've been trying to explain that every step of the way. People keep giving me the great idea of going to the police. Like I had never thought of that. Or people tell me I just need to love myself. Like that's the problem. I do love myself. I don't like being tortured by the jails and by the jailers. I don't like being tortured by the courts. I don't like being tortured at all. Who would? And it's not just psychological torture. They got very physical with me in all of those places and made fun of me while pretending like they're trying to help me, and pretending like I'm in a safe place by cutting me off every time I tell them that there's a safety issue. Every time they cut me off and say, "You're safe, you're safe." And I need to requisition those body cameras from Logan County and from Larimer County. And God, there's so many of them. I mean, I was from one end of the country to the other before you ever got involved.
Yeah. It's really weird because we were at the station talking to that deputy that was there at the hospital, and we went to go talk to him when we were trying to make the report. He at first did say he could get us a body cam, but he was going to try. But then he went back on his word and said that he couldn't, that he needed to wait for approval. And that was one thing that, I forgot to talk about it when I was there, but, I was, I don't know, I was kind of annoyed and confused, it's like, why are you going to say that you can't do something just to say that you can't,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
The problem with that, Sheriff, when I was telling you about Miss Jerry and Lana and Amanda up in Montana.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Jerry's kids, they're adults now, but Jennifer Frericks and Tyler Frericks, they're the ones that were making the racist post that I was arguing with them about when I was in Virginia. Like, they were out of my life for a reason. They didn't come back into my life until after Natalie was dead, and God, they did the same things they did before. But the thing is that Adam Frericks is their uncle. That's the sheriff of Cheyenne County, the very sheriff that I was trying to talk to. That's their uncle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that right there does present a clear conflict of interest. I mean, he's not going to want to do anything that's going to show that his family did something screwed up or that he did something screwed up. Now, I'm showing Adam Frericks' card on my YouTube right now so people can see it. I can't really hold it still enough for him to, but I'm trying to. And the officer that you're talking about that we spoke to after we went to the hospital, that was Enemencio S. Falcon III, Deputy Sheriff, Cheyenne County. Non-emergency number 308-254-2922. Anybody watching this video who has seen any of my other videos, please call the Cheyenne County Sheriff's Department and let them know. Bomb out their phones, not literally with bombs, but like hit them up and let them know what's going on and how this is not okay. Also, the jail is in Gearing. Now, the officers that we put in good reports for, that's John Stark, number 713, and Brandon Martinez, number 703. And there was one more, is it Captain Rogers? Or is he the one? I think he's the one that we had to talk to. Sergeant Jackson, number 707, is the third officer who was helpful. They're all with Gearing Police Department, and their number is 308-436-5089. Please hit them up and tell them about the witnesses. Tell them about Star and what she's been saying and how, yeah, we are trying. We've been trying. I mean, so many people have tried, and they had their friends and family trying to convince them not to make any efforts. I mean, and Star, you don't have to talk about any of the stuff with your family that you don't want to, but I mean, this is all stuff that it's not easy for me because I do need the help. And with a lot of the people who said they loved me and promised to help me, it ended up being that their families are the reason that they couldn't or didn't. But that's not what the police wrote down. That's never what the police wrote down. The police wrote down whatever assumption would make it okay that they did the evil things that they did. And these things are evil.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I shouldn't have interrupted you. I just wanted to make sure you were aware. And you're probably not going to remember it. You know, we'll probably have to say it a few times and then you'll be able to remember it. But it's Enemencio. We could just say Deputy Falcon because it's a bird. It's pretty easy to remember. But
Yeah, I think I might remember that one a bit easier.
Yeah, I like when we were in there. I told you I liked his name, didn't I?
Yeah. I don't think he wasn't really, he wasn't very helpful. I mean, he was kind of nice,
He wasn't helpful. You're right.
Yeah, he was not, and that's what kind of annoyed me about him. It's like, I appreciate you, trying to be nice, but you're not really doing much. It didn't really seem like he was trying at all, him wanting to talk and then tell us what to do, and everything he'd already told us what to do is something we've done before, it was not helpful at all.
Yeah, telling us to do something that, like, I've got evidence that it wasn't just you who was trying. Myself and a lot of other people tried too, and they just weren't going to hear any of us. Anything that showed that I was telling the truth, they made sure that it wasn't documented, wasn't there, wasn't something that they looked into. And the few times that I got somebody to actually go in with me, like, it was always that way. Always their excuses. Well, you can't talk about our deputies. Like, well, your deputies were involved. I have to talk about your deputies. I'm not just going to pretend that half of the story didn't exist because you don't want to hear about the wrong things your deputies did. And every step of the way, when I tried to tell them what their deputies had done, they kept on cutting me off so that they didn't have to hear it. If they don't hear it, then it magically makes it okay. And that's why, like, Logan County, I got to get their body cameras from jail to show that, like, the whole time they were lying to me, they were cutting me off. And the safety issues that I was trying to tell them about that they didn't want to hear ended up happening. I ended up getting harmed even further. And, like, I had some severe trauma from that place. They just kept making fun of me. Like, if someone is mentally ill, is making fun of them for trying to get help the right thing to do?
No. And that's the stupid thing is that they say that they're trying to help, and it's like, how are you trying to help? By antagonizing the person that needs it? What you talked about is like, wow, that's so helpful. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure he'll be much better after that.
Yes, right? Well, I also saved the cards from when we went to the DHHS. People wanted to pretend like that didn't happen either. Like, yeah, that did happen. There's another guy I'm going to call here shortly. I was going to post up a video that I recorded earlier, you know, how frustrating it was for me and the guy here to get started. It's going to happen. It's just, you know, it needs to happen as a storyline. And if people are going to interrupt me and ask where the evidence is, the problem is that I'm going to have to depend on you and him and your road dog to do all of that stuff, because I will probably be sitting in jail, and I'll have to hope that you guys are able to go through this stuff. And if I tell you what happened in the story, you'll be able to find that evidence a lot easier and put it where it needs to go. When you see those people and those threats, you'll know to pull those out immediately and set them to the side in a different folder. And this is all stuff that I did before. It's just that it all got stolen. And you'll be able to see in my videos where those happen too. A lot of the key videos that I've been sending to you, so that later on you can actually scroll up in our YouTube or our Facebook Messenger. You can find those videos and you can see them, and then you'll be able to go through and see all the rest of it. Also, I got my codes written down the best that I can. That's what I gave you while we were in the vehicle right before I got arrested. And there's a little bit more here. That way you guys will have that information so you can delegate. I've got 3 computers here that are all full of evidence, and they're so full of evidence that they don't even want to work hardly anymore. I got to try to find a way to clear out stuff, and that means I got to clear my games off, but it's not like I play them. They're on there, so if I'm super stressed and the environment is too overwhelming, I can stick my headphones in and pretend the world doesn't exist for a game or two. Like I played War Thunder yesterday for the first time in probably 6 months. I only played 2 flights. That's about an hour, but an hour worth of video games in 6 months ain't a whole lot. So when I tell you guys the story, you know, you're going to be able to keep an eye out in all this stuff to find it. There's also some stuff that's important to remember, like some of the phones that I would need in order to re-verify some of the accounts that I have. I don't have those phones anymore, so it has to be done through a specific computer, and you cannot log out. If you log out, we're screwed. We lose all of the evidence. There's also a lot of people in there where there's information that I need to be able to get, but because it was through other people, I have to be able to show that those people are withholding that evidence. And I can prove that, but you guys are probably going to have to prove it because I'll be in jail. Also, with the protection orders, it's got to be shown that these people were the predators and that I was prevented from being able to show evidence. And that's literally why I had to break the law. I mean, people are dead. We're not talking about, oh, well, you know, this is something you just need to let go because it's ended now and nobody's going to give you any more problems. And like literally, did it look like we were having 0 problems through any of this situation where you were involved? It seemed to me like it was nothing but problems. Sorry, go ahead.
I reacting to your statement. Well, yeah, it's all going to roll around. And once we have in person, I'll actually be able to see and really understand. You know, but I mean, there's a lot that I'm hearing, and I get it. But you know, seeing it, like actually looking at it, will kind of help you remember and really, you know, I guess, like really see it, you know.
Yep. Right now, I got to go carry all those papers over to this side of the house so that I can have all that paperwork ready and prepared and sorted out according to time and date and where and when. You'll be able to see that the stuff that I was saying about the Chesapeake, Virginia hospital was the truth. You'll be able to see the stuff from the other hospitals. I didn't just record the paperwork and the screenshots. I also, when I went into those hospitals, I recorded the situations at the hospitals. So, I mean, I can prove that I literally was at the hospitals. There are over 24 visits to the hospitals that are recorded. There are over 24, possibly 36 visits to therapists that are the visit itself I recorded.
Yeah. The other thing that really pisses me off too is, you know, when I saw the videos, like the fear I saw, and the claim about the stuff, and being sent to the hospital repeatedly, like they don't even really bother to listen. Especially the ones that already know who you are because you've been there before. They just treat it like a routine or like just something funny, like entertainment. They're not gonna do all fucking day. And if you come in trying to look for help, and instead of actually trying to help, they just want to calm you and just basically push you till you start yelling or scare you. And it's like entertainment to them. It's not even, there is no concern. There is nothing human about it. They just use you as someone to make fun of it. Like, I don't even know what words. Like, it makes me, I really can't even know what words. Like, it just, like I said yesterday, it makes me want to break something. It makes me want to yell too, seeing all that kind of stuff. And then when I was looking at other videos about the similar things happening to other people, it's like, how the hell is this still happening, And nobody cares. And, the excuse is always, that the person was homeless, or that person, like you said, is mentally ill. And it's like, so why does it matter? Does it make them less just because this is what their situations are? Or you say that it's okay?
If they're mentally ill, does it mean they weren't raped or that evidence doesn't exist? If they're a male, does it mean that they weren't molested? I mean, that's all stuff that, yeah, we got to deal with. This is all situations that you're exactly right about. But then again, you can't really say that it makes you want to break stuff, because then you're making terroristic threats. I mean, you didn't say that you were going to, but you said that it makes you want to. And that right there, then all of a sudden you're mentally ill and you're volatile and you're wanting to hurt people. And, that's not the case. I mean, you're frustrated. And when you say that, you're expressing your frustration. But that's not how they're going to view it when they're trying to friggin' frame your ass. Or when they're trying to
antagonize you.
Yo.
And that's the stupid part too. It's like, a lot of these people, I'm not gonna say all cops because I know it's not 100%, but you'll see a lot of cops in reports. There was this one that I heard about, this guy who was in law enforcement, and he and his girlfriend, they tortured his own sons. Like, he's the cop, tortured his own sons.
The autistic boy in Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, they love to pretend that they're saints and that they're, just so amazing and so, like, I don't know, just untouchable.
They are now. The laws that were introduced in 1998, followed by the ones in 2001 and 2002, and then the ones that were introduced in 2005, the ones introduced in 2009, the ones introduced in 2014 are the scariest ones, though. Those are the ones that made them completely untouchable.
Yeah. And see, that's what I'm trying to get at as well. It's like some person who doesn't really do anything wrong, but they just mention that they're irritated, they're pissed off, and they want to just throw something on the floor. Suddenly he's a terrible guy, but then you see the cop pretending to be a wonderful, amazing, helpful saint, and at home he's hurting his own family, torturing his own offspring, and it just not even more to see that, they get away with so much. Like, that guy that I was talking about that, he didn't even get in trouble, did he?
Nope. The officers who killed,
both of them, right?
Do what?
He killed both of them, basically, didn't he?
I'm not sure. See, there's a lot of those situations and scenarios. There's so many of them. You might be talking about a completely different case than I am. There are so many situations involving law enforcement, and you've seen how impossible it is to get something filed against law enforcement. They won't even allow you to file it. But then, they talk about all these statistics with police officers. Like, those statistics can't be anywhere near close to true because of how many people, myself included, were threatened, harassed, intimidated, and tortured while trying to make a report.
Yeah.
4 years, and all of these officers are on the same side. And they say, oh, well, my job is for the constituents, it's for the people, you know, that those are the people that I work for. I'm like, well, I am one of those people. You work for me or you work for the sheriff? Because I'm trying to turn in the sheriff.
You're really sick. Other times I would hear about excusing officers doing something. You know, it could be little things, you know, than just being sick and being assholes. But they get excused because they're cops. It's like, oh wow, that guy's a real dickhead. Well, oh, he's a cop though. Oh, really? And it's like, you always have to hear that he's a cop, and suddenly it's okay because he's a cop.
Yep. And you know, it's one thing to hear about it on the internet. It's another thing entirely. Like, you came in person and you saw it in person, you experienced it in person, you felt it in person. Like you were in person. You're a witness in person. You know.
Yeah.
And a lot of these other people, they didn't get that. Like, the police said that I made no effort to try to get any help. I'm like, are you shitting me? I've done nothing but try to get help. And everything that you have done is cut me off from the ability to get that help, cutting me off from my money, cutting me off from my friends, cutting me off from my telephone, cutting me off from the electronics. Like, this is all stuff that I'm not trying to be a jerk about. This is stuff that you need in order to, this is all electronic. And then when I'm staying in people's places, like the guy here, you know, from 9 to 5, he works on his recording studio. 9 to 5 is when I need to make my calls. You know, 9 to 5 is when all of these places are open. So this is another situation where I'm in it and I need the help, but I'm not going to get the help that I need for right now. And a lot of the calls that we need to make, he's going to take 2 hours out of every morning, or out of his morning on Monday, to make calls with me. Now that's going to be 1, maybe 2 calls that are effective. But then beyond that, I got to wait until 5 o'clock because I can't make phone calls at the same time that he's making them. Like, you remember when you were talking and your road dog was talking at the same time and I couldn't understand either one of you? When we first got to when you guys first showed up at the hotel room, like half an hour in.
Oh, yeah.
Well, while that was going on, that's not because I wasn't trying to hear either one of you. It's because you were both talking at the same time, and I just couldn't hear you both. Or when you guys were having the conversation while the video was going, I couldn't do that.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. Yeah, they have to listen to something like that. Yeah, for me, you know, I can pay attention to multiple things. Not forever, though. You know, that's the minute, you know, eventually I'll probably get tired, too, of trying to multitask for so long. But, yeah, you know, it depends on each person. You know, some people don't do that. You know, people need to concentrate on one thing. They put something on it, distracting, or, you know, it doesn't really help. You know, I understand you.
A lady named Elizabeth Linus just typed, she said, I just sent you $25. I don't have a lot, but I wanted to donate what I can. So thank you, Elizabeth. Also, Star Mejia, or Star Mejia is what I've been calling her. She's the one that I'm talking to on the phone. She's the one that I got to try to see about getting her here as soon as possible. She's got a vehicle, which is extremely useful in this scenario. In order for me to go to my court dates or any of this other stuff, I have to be able to travel. Also, for her to be able to come see me, she's got to be able to come here. I get paid my money on the 6th or on the 4th. It'll be my the $600 stimulus thing, and I'll be able to use that to get Star here. And well, she already spent a lot of money on gas to get here once, and now I had to spend all of my money, all of my disability money to live on in the month of January. I had to spend to bail myself out of jail. All of the money that I had left over from that $12,000 that I got to try to actually get something with to live on, the last of that money got spent to get me bailed out of jail in Nebraska. And the thing is, like, Star is a witness to these things. She
She was there for these things. She was helping to coordinate with these things, and she was also having to deal with one of the not so easiest people to deal with in my family, which is totally righteous because my Aunt Mary really is. She's a nice lady. She's just ignorant. I shouldn't say that on the air because then my aunt will hear about it and she'll feel as if I'm trying to insult her. No, ignorant means that you're unaware or you don't know. If you have not been homeless, you are ignorant of what it is to be homeless. If you are not Hispanic, you are ignorant of what it is to be Hispanic. If you are not black, then you are ignorant of what it is to be black. And well, that's the thing, is we are all ignorant. All of us are ignorant. So it's not like I'm trying to insult people by saying that. I'm trying to point out that what they're saying is miles from the truth, and they need to stop with the ignorance and actually listen to the person and the experience.
Yeah, one way or another, all of us are ignorant in some way.
Yes, ma'am. You're ignorant.
What are you?
I am. I'll admit it.
Yeah, I don't take ignorant as an insult. I have a lot of family members that do as well, and when I try to explain, it's like, no, you don't say that, and especially when someone older than me, it's like, that's disrespectful. It's like, no, it's not.
That's like my dad. My dad told me for years and years that women pee out of the same hole that babies come out of. And when I told my dad that that was ignorant, he backhanded me.
Wow.
Yep. That's disrespectful. I'm like, no, Dad, telling you the truth about anatomy is not disrespectful. If my mom tells me that alligators are so angry all the time because they got all them teeth, no toothbrush, yes, I will argue with my mom. I'll be like, nope, it's a medulla oblongata, lady. They're angry because they're primal.
Funny. There's something else. Now that I don't know all this stuff about my parents. Oh my goodness. And it's sad because they want to stay ignorant.
Yeah. I would rather hate you for being different than embrace your differences. Like culturally, capitalism is set up to help out the Hispanic family. That is literally the type of family environment that thrives the best in American capitalism. It's because the family works together. White folks are taught that you're not supposed to work together. It's every man for himself. And consequently, all of those bills that a family works together towards to get something done, white families are like, well, I already have that. My kids better figure out how to get it on their own. Meanwhile, their kids have to work 3 times as many hours to get the same amount of goods.
Yeah.
And figuring our parents had to work over a full-time job if they were a single parent in order to survive, or even before they had kids, if they had to work a full-time job, and now we have to work 3 full-time jobs in order to survive. Literally, all we're doing is going to work and getting not enough sleep.
Yeah. Honestly, if I was part of that typical family for Hispanics, I feel like I probably would be thriving too. Sadly, I think my family did not get the memo.
Right? There's a lot of us didn't get the memo. There's a few of the guys that I was in jail with. I noticed that the Hispanic guards interact with the Hispanic inmates differently than they interact with the white inmates. And the same thing with the white officers too. Like the Hispanic folks in the jail, there's like a mutual respect / disrespect between the Hispanic guards and the Hispanic inmates. Like one of the inmates, he's Hispanic, and he's telling the guards about how, it was the first time, and the officer's like, no, it isn't. No, it isn't. Dude, I know your mom. I know your sister. I fucking dated your aunt. Okay, dude. No, it fucking isn't. Don't. And I'm like, Jesus, man, this is not a family-friendly environment.
So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, but it's also like guards are even like that with somebody that they're not related to and that they don't know. Like it's and one of the guards in uh what is it, Fort Collins, actually one of the white guards actually asked about that. He was like, so that's against protocol, and the Hispanic officer's like, well, it's part of our culture. You can't take our culture away from us. You know, and that white officer automatically, the first thing he's going to do, like, yeah, I don't want to insult their culture because then I might lose my job for being a racist. So he backed off immediately.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's against protocol, but, you know, it's Hispanic heritage. You better let them. Like, damn. I was kind of glad at that point that I wasn't Hispanic because that guy really, the way that we were getting shut down, he was getting shut down, even though he was not trying to turn in an officer. He was just trying to explain that he wasn't just going off the hook and slapping people all the time for no reason. And that guard was like, yeah you did. Yeah, you do.
Wow.
But that's also the thing about stereotypes is that the Hispanic families that I see doing well, I see white families that do the same thing and do extremely well. It's not because they're Hispanic. It's just that culturally, the cultural expression that we are meant to believe, it does work exceptionally well. But as far as culturally goes, I mean, we are culturally taught that Hispanic families are more likely to be that way than a white family. And as I've seen it, that is actually true. I mean, you can have an officer and a felon eating at the same dinner table in a Hispanic family, and they'll actually sit down and eat dinner and be a family. And most white families, I mean, you know, once you've got somebody who's in law enforcement and the rest of them are, you know, not in law enforcement, there's the ostracization that happens, the alienization. Like, yeah, you know, I'm a cop now, and you're a fuck up, so you know you're not family anymore, and I don't want you at my table. I don't want you to fuck up my job. I don't want that reputation. And they don't care even if you're guilty or not. You know, they care that hey, you know, you're disrespecting our family name, and that very much I've seen also in the Hispanic family thing, but also I see where it's in much of those scenarios it does come down to a safety issue, whereas in most of the white families where it's happening, it's just a matter of pride, and that's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, especially around, you know, because I'm Hispanic, so I've known a lot of families, you know, a lot of them who work similarly, but most of the time when I was younger and, you know, I'd be like at a friend's house, you know, I would see how the family's working, you know, there was a lot of that, you know, where there'd be, you know, like the two sons, right, and one of them was doing real good and he had a great job, the other one wasn't doing so well. And, you know, there'd be some where the son, you know, or the daughter, you know, if they weren't doing well at all, they would still be accepted in the family. They'd still get support, you know, they would try to encourage that person to do better. But then, you know, there'd be the others, like other families, and, you know, instead of trying to get that person to make progress, they kind of just exploit it even further by rejecting them, by, you know, insulting them, by degrading them, by doing everything that isn't actually helpful. And sadly, that's kind of family I'm from, you know. One person messes up and everyone's on them, and not to help them, but just to make the situation worse, to make them feel really, push them even further away.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, you know, those families that did work together, like you said, you know, they do well, and it's really sad for the ones that don't, because, you know, when the families work together to help each other out, even the ones that aren't doing so great, eventually that person does go out of it. You know, they do make the progress and they change their lives. And they don't live the same way as they did before.
Right.
And that's how it's good for every family, but it's definitely not that way.
In me and Natalie's messages, she talks about how she wasn't doing drugs, but her family, no matter what, anytime something went wrong, it was always her fault, and it must have been because she's on drugs. And she said that made her want to do drugs,
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly that feeling.
And that's something that a lot of people, they just don't understand. Like a lot of addicts, they want the forgiveness after they're done with the drugs, or when they want people to believe that they're done with the drugs, they want those people to drop everything that the addict ever done wrong. And that's difficult to do, especially when some people are still dealing with the consequences of that. Like when you say something wrong about somebody who didn't do anything to you, but you said something wrong while you were addicted, and now that you're clean, you think that they should just let it go. But if they're still dealing with the consequences and they still have people threatening their lives and assaulting them, like, yeah, sure, you're clean, but part of being clean is making amends. And if you're expecting your family to just let you back in with open arms while they're still taking a lot of battle damage from it, you do need to do something to rectify the situation.
Yeah, that's another problem too. A lot of obviously, yes, people will be hurt by the former addict's problem, but a lot of times when a person's family is doing better, they'll still put in their face about their past, or whenever they do something that they don't like, they'll just bring up the past.
And then it's don't live in the past if you try to say how it affects you. Don't live in the past. The rules are different for you than they are for me. I shouldn't have interrupted you.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. So it's fucked up, because, if a person actually wants to move forward and, actually get that person to, I don't know, like, I remember having a cousin, where he was an alcoholic, and, everybody was in their face that, well, you used to drink and you used to do this and you used to do that. And, the guy wouldn't even do any of those things anymore, but they still were in his face that he did it. And just because just because you're doing all this stuff doesn't really make any difference. And so that kind of pushed him back into being alcoholic, because it's just like, well, if it doesn't fucking matter that I changed now, why the hell should I want to stop? And he got back on drinking. So instead of helping him move forward, all they did is just shove him back into the same addiction.
Yo. And for a lot of those people, like when I first went homeless, most of the people that I was homeless with, when they ended up homeless, I was the guy who was there for them. I was the guy who was passing out blankets when they got out off the bus from Denver, from wherever the hell they had come from. Sometimes it was Florida, and they'd show up in flip-flops, a t-shirt, and shorts, going, hey, what's that white stuff outside? Is that snow? And I'd say, no, the cocaine factory blew up. There's people who have never seen snow. They didn't know what it was, so I figured I'd make a joke. But they got their blankets from me. And there was a lot of people that ended up homeless. They had jobs when they ended up homeless, but the cops are relentless. Like you saw how they were treating me with you in there. They're worse when you go in there alone, especially when you're homeless, especially in a big city. And, for me, helping to save people meant getting people who were ignorant off the streets.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. It's your turn to talk.
Well, yeah, you're right about the whole thing with yeah, just imagine if we were all homeless and still trying to help you. I'm pretty sure we all would have gotten taken away.
Yeah. I got plenty of examples of that, as well as the eyewitness report.
Yeah, honestly, when people talk about who has it the worst, I wasn't always aware of the problems going around the world, especially with homeless people, because I have experienced that kind of thing. And, now there's really no denying it that the homeless do, in fact, have it the worst, worse than anyone, of any race. And, especially when the homelessness is added to the race,
Yep.
it also makes a lot of changes on how much, you know, they have to suffer, you know. And, you know, a lot of my family as well, you know, they are still stuck on the belief that the police is there to help. But if they were there to help, why are the homeless always killed by them, you know? And there's the stories about, oh, you know, they were running at me, or they were provoking, or, you know, they were doing something illegal. And a lot of times the people weren't being violent. They weren't being violent, you know, they were probably just asking a question, or maybe they just didn't want to get up because they were tired. You know, there's always a lot of stories I'll hear about that kind of stuff, and, you know,
A lot of times they just want something to do, and they'll say that somebody called us in. Oh, well, somebody called us in, so that's why we're here. That somebody called and said there was somebody suspicious in the area. And when we hear BLM talking about how they did that to black people, you know, folks are like, man, that's a big problem, and we need to put a stop to this. But, you know, a lot of those officers, they never produce the 911 call, ever, that they're supposedly harassing this person over. You never get to hear the 911 call. You just you're expected to believe them because they're a cop. They did that to me a lot.
Yeah.
They do it to a lot of people. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that in some occasions, I can't speak for Colorado, but around in, you know, the state I'm in, you know, there are a lot of people who do see the homeless in a negative way, you know, and they're just like me, people who never experienced homelessness, and they're ignorant about it. And, you know, when they see one just maybe sitting down at a bench, or just trying to find somewhere to sleep or something, you know, and then when they, you know, nobody wants, around here, you know, nobody wants to see the homeless. Nobody wants to have them around asking for help. You know, no one wants them. And, you know, some of them do call the police on them and treat them like they're criminals, even though the person probably just had nowhere else to go. And, you know, they're not left alone. And there's people, not even, like, besides the cops, there's actual people who will assault the homeless as well, you know. And it's like, why do you feel the need to do that? You know, this person had nowhere else to go. Why?
It's because we can't go to the police. Everybody knows we can't go to the police. Everyone in America knows this. They know that if they want to victimize somebody, you got to victimize somebody nobody is going to believe, somebody that nobody cares about. Find somebody who's homeless, preferably somebody who is male, who is unattractive, and if they have any signs that you can call mentally ill, like their hair is not perfect, boom, you hit on that, you win automatically.
Yeah.
You can beat the living shit out of them. Now, if you're a rapist, you just change that around. Instead of picking a male, you pick a female.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's another thing. It's like, you know, me as a woman, there's a lot of stuff that, yes, does happen. And, you know, I looked a lot of that kind of stuff, you know, women being homeless, a lot of problems that they've had as well. But most of the time, what they would deal with, I mean, yes, there was assault and rape and, you know, insults as well. But when I would hear the stories of men, you know, that kind of stuff is just something you can only imagine in the scary movies or a nightmare. You know, the way, you know, there's like pictures and autopsies of face. You can't even tell who it is, you know? Just like the picture that you have on yours, of your I don't remember his name, the one that you have on your profile picture, you know, their faces would be just like that, but worse, you know, than their bodies. It's, I don't know.
It's Thomas Kelly.
Thomas Kelly?
Yep. He was beaten to death in California by 6 officers who laughed and joked while they beat him to death. All 4 of them walked free.
That's exactly that, you know. Because I look at the picture, if I were, I don't have any pictures of him, but, you know, if you were to compare his face then and the face of him normal, you know, you wouldn't have known who it was.
Yeah, and one of them, he looks like a cowboy, And the other one, it looks like somebody took an apple pie and smashed it in the center with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Same guy. I guess there was a lot of red. It would have been a cherry pie that they smacked with a hammer.
Oh yeah, cherry pie. I could red. That kind of stuff should already be enough for people to want to do something, you know? You know, even if there wasn't people in chapel, you know, you would think that there'd be more people concerned. I mean, this could be someone, you know, other than someone, even someone's dad, you know? And that's the thing that nobody cares until it happens to someone that they love. But why are we waiting around for that to happen?
Well, a lot of people, the ones that they victimize most, don't have family that care. Most of us who grew up in the system, our families don't know shit about us.
Yeah, that's true. I remember you told me about a lot of people being homeless, starting off as foster kids, people without any real support at all. And you're right about that as well, you know, because a lot of people, when they do have families, the only reason that they don't go homeless is because they were able to sleep in their house, even if it was on their couch or maybe renting a room or something.
You know, I started paying rent to my dad when I was 15 years old. I had to go to work to earn that money, and my dad said it was to teach me a responsibility. But he also insisted I spend at least 2 hours a day learning how to make HTML porno websites before I was allowed to go to work, and I had to go to work and get my rent money before I was able to work on my homework. I'm like, Dad, I'm 15. I have 6 hours of homework every night from Lincoln High School, which, by the way, is minority in high school. You remember the statistics I was sending you for Lincoln High School? 81% minority. That's the high school.
Yeah.
That was my first mainstream high school. I went from there to Chapel, Nebraska. You've been to Chapel, Nebraska. How many black people did you see in Chapel, Nebraska?
0.
Right?
I didn't see a single other minority except us, and I was already kind of feeling awkward. I'm just like, ooh, are they gonna stare at me? And there was a few occasions where I did get the stares, and it's nothing that I'm not used to. But when you're in a really small town, if you know everybody, it's like they know you're a stranger, and the fact that you're not the same skin tone as them, they know.
Chapel, Nebraska is a scary place.
It's creepy, to be honest. I do not look forward to having to back then.
Me either, because they can ship me from here back to Nebraska at any point in time, because what the Nebraska State Patrol lady told you and what Sheriff Scott DaCosta pulled are not the same thing. And that needs to be shown to her too. We got to be able to get her on the phone.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a call between both of us so we can record it this time. And she'll be prepared for it to be recorded, so she'll probably say things and word things differently.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I mean, once we get there, we'll be able to do that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I'm already rooting for it, you know. You know, she's probably going to want to make up a lot of things about how that's not what she said, and that's not what she remembers talking about it or whatever. But, I mean, I know for a fact that she clearly said that you had no warrant and that there was nothing to worry about. And that he knew about you, and that he had not seen the body come to mention what happened, even though he said it as if it was a fact that you tripped yourself and that you were taking a shooting and that no one had touched you. And this is all from the mouth of Trooper Blur, you know, and that's what she said. I know all of that, I remember all that, and, you know, it's still that's recording because all I'm saying right now about her is exactly what she said.
Right? Exactly. Now, my question is, If nobody touched me, why was I already in cuffs? That's a good question to ask. And that'll be on their
Yeah.
body cameras.
Yeah, and then, she was also talking about how the marks that you had on your hands were not even the handcuffs. You had marks on you where it's like it couldn't have been from the handcuffs because it wasn't even your wrist. That's the
Yep,
only
that's
proof
the
they
mark
had
on
to
top.
prove
That
you.
was from them grabbing a hold of me the way that they did. That did not need to happen.
Yeah.
The ones on the side of my wrist, that is definitely from the cuffs. That's the one that's a deep gouge. I mean, I put Neosporin on it the whole time I was in there, but it's still pretty nasty looking.
Yeah.
And that was from.
And I mean, that day you were calling about the sheriff, and nobody bothered to question him or ask him what was actually going on. When they did ask, they believed everything he said. Whatever you said was suddenly false. They didn't even listen. And, I was there on the phone. Of course I wasn't there personally, but I was on the phone and I did hear the words.
And they were talking like they were going to send a state patrol officer to finally help me, weren't they?
Yeah, the lady was reassuring me that, well, we sent someone to help, and he didn't really help. He did nothing. He just let your predator, do whatever he wanted.
Yep, that was Bird. Now I got a question. When it was just me and him talking while you were on the phone, before he took the phone from me, or before I handed it to him so he could talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
when we were talking, he did say that he turned over the body cam footage that he had over to investigators, right?
Yeah, he said that, and he also said that no one they got back or anything. Like he was just saying that, he tried, but nothing happened. But
And that's the thing, is that who did he send it to, and why didn't that person investigate? Why didn't they ever get in contact with me at any point in time? Why did nobody from the FBI get in contact with me at any point in time to investigate this? Why did nobody from these departments at any point in time get back in contact with me to actually do something about this? Also, why is it the ones that were pretending that they were going to were literally the officers that I had been trying to turn in because they had pulled these tricks in the past, and I can't trust them?
yeah, the fact that they never mentioned any names or anything, or even a date or a time or something, if I truly cared about helping you and I was a cop, I would try to keep some notes and try to actually let you know what's going on. No one ever actually tried to explain anything to you. They just said, this is what I did, and now you said you can believe it just because he said so.
But the things that they said, those would have gotten me a different outcome in all of my court cases here in Colorado and in Nebraska. All of those things that they were claiming to me, that obviously when they were talking to you, that very same officer that you were talking on the phone with when I handed it to him, that's the same officer. The one that was bullshitting you and telling you just the opposite on the phone, while I was being taken down to the ground. That's the very same officer that was telling you that he tried to turn in the stuff with Stock Costa to an investigator at the State Patrol. He's that very same officer who didn't give a name of the investigator or a time or a day. That very same State Patrol officer, that is William Burr. You can remember him, just say Bill Burr Baggins. His last name ain't Baggins, but it's a name that just sounds straight out of Tolkien. But the other one that sounds similar is William Barr, Barr, and that's Jessica Martindale's husband. He's the officer who verified the Craigslist ad with Natalie. He's not a cop anymore, by the way. The story he told me is that his partner was stalking a woman, so he arrested his partner, and he lost his job, and nothing happened to his partner.
Wow.
Yeah, but he's
Wow.
still do what?
You would think that he would have gotten rewarded for turning in someone who was doing something wrong, and that he got in trouble for it.
Well, he's not the only one like that. I got a friend named Brent Jepson, and he's not a cop anymore because he doesn't like the mental health thing, especially. He doesn't like having to do that. He thinks that's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it is.
But he's not the only one. Dwight Pruss, same thing. He's like, I quit my job in Denver because of the way that they treat the disabled down there. And he was very specific. He was like, when they call you mentally ill, like there's nothing you can do. You just have to take your number. And that is the cold hard facts of it coming straight from an officer's mouth. When he moved to Chapel, Nebraska, it's because he was tired of seeing dead bodies.
Wow.
A lot of those people were street people that he personally knew. There's a guy on here. I'm gonna try to find his video and I'll click it in there. I wish you had more time to watch these videos. But the guy's name is Jay. And he is he's pretty important. He talks about some of the deaths there in Colorado. He's Leatha Plunkett. It's her ex. And let's see. J-A-Y. Let's see. This one is called Talking with Jay, father of another autistic youth I dealt with. I dealt with Jay, not the autistic youth. This is an hour and 51 minutes long, almost an hour and 52 minutes long. But I'm going to copy the video URL and I'm going to post it here in the live stream on the chat on the side because it's an important one. This is a witness to a lot of the stuff that happened before Wayland Lowtie. A lot of the stuff that was happening with a lot of the deaths in the area, people ending up dead in dumpsters, people that I personally knew. We might have also talked about Alexis. I'm pretty sure we talked about the Rancho Castillo or whatever in Arizona, I think is where it was. But it's all important stuff,
Yeah.
I got to call one more guy up tonight and see what he's up to. I'm going to probably let you go. I'm going to thank you for talking with me a bunch.
Yeah.
Since you haven't been able to watch those videos yet, I'm hoping you'll be able to. That way you can verify those people. I can give you their contact information after you listen to the video if you are able to get a hold of them and interview them or anything like that. The thing is that most of these people, it was that they were miles and miles away. There wasn't much they could do. A lot of them, they had family issues. Many of them had drug addiction and, substance abuse issues. And these are all things that are not my fault, but they affected their ability to help me. And for a lot of them, that was their excuse for doing a lot of the cruel things that they did to me.
Yeah.
Like you, if they were threatening your kids and all that, like, I would fully understand why you would stab me in the back over that, because you got to be afraid for your kids. I'm just hoping that they don't, or I'm hoping that they haven't. I'm hoping, I don't even know how to explain it now. Like, I'm hoping it's far enough distant that you don't have to encounter those problems. But there's also the fact that so many others did. Like, I do have to be afraid for anybody that helps me. It may just be threats, but you never know when it's actually going to come true, because like with Natalie, I knew she was at risk, and so did she. Every cut that she had on her arms was a time that her parents should have listened and done something. It was a time where the police needed to do something. It was a time when one of her friends needed to stand up and do something. I told Natalie I loved her, and I meant it, and I proved it. When she said, come to Chesapeake, Virginia, and that she needed me there, I made sure that I went. I love Jamie Curtis and her son. And when Jamie said, I need a hero, I fucking packed up my shit and I went. After Natalie was killed, though, I couldn't help people like that anymore. If Felicia called me up today and said, hey, Sean, I'm fucking stranded. I need you to come pick me up and take me somewhere safe. I have nowhere safe to take her. There's also the fact there's a protection order, so going to rescue her would get me in trouble. And everybody, after I'm sitting in jail in cuffs, and say, hey, it's your fault. You should have just let them kill her. No, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that.
That's the fucking thing. A lot of people have that mentality. They'd rather let somebody take a fall when they know that they could do something about it. And this is why, society here is failing. Families are failing each other. People are failing each other. They all they think about is, themselves or whatever immediate family they may have, but nobody else, it's like, oh, that's not our problem, that's not our business, just work away, keep walking. Nobody actually cares to help or do anything, even when they know they can.
Yes, ma'am.
That's kind of a big reason why, I've been friends whoever I can, but most of the people that I've talked to on me, some of them are understanding about it, but they didn't really offer to do anything to help. They were just kind of nodding like, oh, okay,
Well, that
nothing
sucks,
else.
but no biggie. We're focusing on the bigger problems.
Huh?
I said, well, yeah, that sucks, but we're focusing on bigger problems. The problem is that we don't work together on big situations like this, and it screws every one of us in the long run. If we let it happen to one of us, then it allows it to set a legal precedent, and that legal precedent allows it to be used against anyone else, regardless of skin color or gender.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing is, a lot of other people I've talked to about it, they're just like, well, why do you care, And I explained to them exactly what you just said right now, but, they're just like, well, it's not like you can really make any difference, you're just one person. It's like, well, I wouldn't have to be just one person if maybe one of you want to do something too. But no, it's always that, you got to worry more about yourself. You got to, but that's not me. I'm not just going to worry about me because everybody in this world plays a part. If we're only worrying about ourselves, how are we supposed to move forward?
Who's going to protect you if you don't protect them?
Exactly.
Martin Niemöller wrote a poem about that after World War II. It was about the Nazi occupation and also about his part in it. Martin Niemöller was a priest. He also did some bad things, and he also did some good things. And after the war, he said some things about it. Anyway, Star, is there any way you might be able to watch a couple of those videos before you go to bed?
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to be able to verify.
I was working.
Do what?
I started working today. Was like my first day. That's why I didn't see anything. But now that I'm home, I'm gonna watch the videos as many as I can.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Well, I'm gonna let you go and let you get to that. I'm gonna try to make a couple more calls before this guy gets home.
Yeah.
Thank you, Star. Be safe.
Well, you too. All right. Bye, Sean.
Bye. Mia Suck Macintosh. Hello, sorry, only just saw you were live. It's alright. Video will be here for a while. Unless I said something somebody finds insulting or 10,000 people try to get this video banned. Who knows? People did a lot of really mean things. Time for another video, and then I get to go through more evidence. I gotta go grab the paper evidence on the other half of the house.
Miyasak Macintosh typed, "You can't insult me, so don't worry too much." Well, I hope you wasn't thinking I was trying to insult you. If I was pronouncing your name wrong, I'm sorry. I was calling Star, her last name is Mejia, but I was calling her Star Mejia for a while. I didn't know, you know? So I'm not trying to insult you if I got your name right, and I hope you don't take it that way. If you do, don't take it out on me, please. I will defend myself. Cool. He typed, or she, I don't know if you're a male or a female, and I'm not sure what gender assignment to give you or what the neutral gender assignment of today is that's socially acceptable. It's changed about 5 times in 5 years, and I'm sorry if I get your title wrong. If you're an Esquire and I don't know that you own property, I'm sorry that I didn't say Esquire. If you don't own property, you're not an Esquire. Land property in specific. All right, y'all have a good night. They're going to throw me through the ringer for court dates that I was never allowed to defend myself in, or I was never allowed to show evidence or speak up on my own behalf. See, the courts, you guys keep telling me the legal way to do it. It's different when you're called mentally ill. There's no such thing as legal. Miyasak Macintosh typed, "I'm female, but please don't stress about me. I'm very laid back, but if you would like, then my name is pronounced Misha." Ah, Misha. I can pronounce that. It's a Russian name, and Macintosh is a Scottish name. Very cool. My first name is Sean. It's a variant of the name John. Meaning is noun, informal, North American, a toilet. You have to walk across the stage to get to the John. A prostitute's client, the hooker who opens her soul to her John. That's not what I was looking for. Here is a better one, I guess. It says the name John is a theophoric name originating from the Hebrew name Yohanan, or in its longer form, Yehohanan, meaning Yahweh has been gracious. God has been gracious. And then my middle name is David, David. And hopefully this one's not a toilet as well. Meaning beloved. Region of origin, Israel. David is a common masculine given name of biblical Hebrew origin, as King David is a figure of central importance in the Hebrew Bible and in Christian, Jewish, and Islamic religious tradition. Meaning beloved. So far that means God is gracious, beloved, and then let's find out what Schwartz means. Schwartz. Schwartz is the last name of German origin, meaning black. Modern spelling in German is Schwarz. It was originally a nickname for someone with black hair or a dark complexion. Black people. Yes. My German ancestors were black. You're welcome. What does Schwartz mean in Yiddish? Schwartz is a German Jewish name meaning dark or black. In Spaceballs, Yogurt teaches Lone Star to use the... All right, those of you who grew up in the 80s, you know what Spaceballs is, so you get that one. So my name means
God has been gracious, blessed Black, or beloved Black. It's also got a derivative meaning of a blacksmith, which were the only people. But we can get into that later on. That's a history thing. Schwartz, Russian meaning. This is one I'm looking up because my older brother told me that means something different in Russian. Let's see, we'll copy that. Russian to Anglais. Paste. Means Schwartz just means black, apparently. So my older brother was wrong. He said it meant, it doesn't matter because he was wrong. Now let's see how many of those restricted calls I ended up getting. Oh. Well,
Her job is to get a case dropped. Well, then we got a major issue because that case needed to be followed through with so that I could show evidence of what those police officers did. Their wrongdoing, as well as Amanda Bailhash's wrongdoing in repeatedly not showing up, repeatedly having me go to see investigators who did not show up. You're damn right. You're damn right. All right. Now we'll get to the fun stuff.
All right. I'm sorry about that, folks, but we've got. Let's see how many of these we got. These start at 6:45 p.m. There are so many of them. Restricted. There's over 30 of them just from tonight. Restricted. You see this? Beloved does sound better than toilet, Misha. And some more restricted. I get these restricted. Misha asked, if you don't mind me asking, why are you getting so many restricted phone calls? It's all over the death of Natalie Bollinger. All of it. Every bit of it. All of the abuse in the last 4 years. Every single bit of it. All of the abusive environments I've been forced into. All of it.
You can't block restricted phone calls. Misha Macintosh type, would it be worth blocking restricted phone calls? I've tried. I just call with different numbers. A lot of these people that called me, there were numbers of people that I knew. Like several of, after Jamie Curtis started pulling her stuff with the harassment phone lines and all that, and I've recorded a few of them on here. I started getting a whole bunch of these along with a bunch of text messages from numbers, and when I was calling back the numbers that I was text messaging from, it was turning out that it was people like some of James Payton's relatives and some of Jackie McKenzie's ex-boyfriends, and these are all people that are, you don't piss off a woman like Jamie. I don't care if she's pissed off. I care if her son is safe so she can kiss my ass. Misha Macintosh type, yes, I'm sorry you're getting harassed so much. You know, the harassment isn't the worst part. It's how I'm treated in person. It's the situations I'm forced into in person. The ways that I am forced to try to get help. Separation from my loved ones, and this asshole calling from a restricted number is just a tiny bit of it. Let's let them have some attention. But you don't want the attention, restricted caller? Come on now. How many calls in a row is that? Nine altogether. I'm sorry too, Misha. I'm about to start another video right after this one. It's getting pretty long and there's somebody I want to call. It's pretty important. I'll record it.